and welcome to another crossover event of Lizzie Watches Yaoi and Beneath Your Skin, with Lizzie watching Yaoi, who obviously watching beautiful boys who love each other in anime, and Beneath Your Skin, my podcast with Miss Gaia about demonic possession, and our beautiful anime that we're currently talking about, which is Vatican Miracle Examiners, about hot, young, attractive priests who love each other that investigate whether or not demonic possession and demons are involved in cases of miracles. How are you today, Gaia?
I'm fine. I'm very fine. I was a little bit pissed with one of our boys, but he redeemed himself, so everything is fine.
Yes, Joseph definitely takes a little bit of naivety to the extreme this episode, but it's okay because, as you say, he does redeem himself quite nicely. So we are on episode 7, and we start off with a little tiny flashback of Joseph and Roberto, very young, in school, in the library, like meeting and talking. And it seems like a happy moment until it's quickly kind of whisked away to another scene of poor Roberto just being tortured by his past, tortured by something. He is seeing visions of something, and there is a man who you're assuming could be his father that is calling him the cursed child. He is a child of Satan. And poor Roberto is just like hands over his head, and you see little tiny boy Roberto, even older than when he's in the boarding school, just a little boy going, please go away, leave me alone, leave me alone. And you're like, oh no, I think you had a really tragic past. And you hear a woman's voice gently calling him Roberto, Roberto, and you're like, oh God, what went down in your childhood, you poor angst-ridden boy. And then he wakes up and he is in the clinic, and Joseph is looking quite worried over him, and Julia is there going, oh, how are you feeling? And he's just like looking quite shocked, like, how did he get there? What is going on? And then we get our beautiful opening, which I love. And then we get the title of the episode, which is Those Branded with a Curse. And it's obviously about people who've been branded with curses, which it's kind of implying is what's happened to Roberto, that he's had a curse. And not because of this case, he has always been branded as a cursed child, because it's something that happened in his childhood. Dun dun dun, poor Roberto. Roberto is still not really in his right mind. As they've been saying, they're saying that you're not in your right mind. And Roberto's like, what's been going on? Like, did I say anything weird? Did I say anything weird? And it flashes, and he's saying something about a demon being there. And Joseph goes, no, you're fine. You didn't say anything weird. And it's keeping the fact that Roberto has been raving about demons or lying on the floor. And Julia says that he's had a panic attack, and that he needs rest, and he's given a bit of, meds to kind of keep him calm. But at the same time, they're worried about him.
I don't know, but there is something rotting there. First of all, because Julia is a huge hypocrite, of course. I mean, one who goes through the whole process of whipping his own back because he failed in saving a girl, telling someone to take it easy. Well, my dear, you are not exactly the right person. And okay, yeah, of course, panic attacks can make you sweat and make you shiver and everything, but it looks to me like he was drugged. Somehow, someone slipped something into his water or his food. It looks to me he was drugged, and that's what is causing all these visions he has. I think, even because while the episode proceeds, we find out more about these strange rituals going on in the island. And yes, I will tell you more about that because it reminds me of something very well known, even in Western culture.
Yeah, there's definitely something not quite right. It's like something is affecting Roberto in a way that seems to be more than just like he's having a weird flashback and had a panic attack. It's like there is definitely something, and I'm a bit suspicious of Julia. Our priests go to dinner, and again, and I blame Kid. Kid Goldman is very suspect in this, and he seems to revel in telling that the prophecy of Roberto going to die, and he tells everybody about this prophecy, and they're like, oh my goodness. And Joseph is like, just don't listen to them. It's going to be fine. Don't listen. You're not going to die. And the prophecy's like, but on the night of the Shin Shin festival, you're going to die. And that's tonight. Well, it's tomorrow is the Shin Shin festival. So you're going to die soon. And it's like, oh, God, don't revel so much in the telling this poor man that he's going to die tomorrow. Like, he seems to enjoy telling him so much more than he should.
Yeah, the way he smiles when he looks at Roberto while telling everyone about the cars and the prophecy and how John Jordan decided so this happening and everything, and he has this little smirk on his face, and you are like, okay, what are you hiding? Because you are hiding something, that's for sure. What really hit me hard was how no one even panicked. I mean, someone just told you that one of the Vatican people coming there to examine John Jordan sainthood or lack of sainthood is going to die in less than 24 hours, and all you do is, oh my God, that's terrible. Really? That's all the reaction you can have? I think something is going on in the church because people is really too used to people dying around them like flies, and they
Yeah.
don't even give a damn anymore because it's like more or less on their faces you could read, damn, another one. We are going to finish room in the cemetery. If people keep dying so quickly, we are going to need to buy another island.
They should worry more. Well, we find out a little bit more about this this Shin Shin festival, and it is part of the Kunkabe tribe, and it's part of the Bazuna religion. And within their culture, they believe on this day that their spirits and the dead run wild and decide to go and kill Christians because that is something that happened in the past. And so obviously there's this air of like, oh, you're going to get killed in this ritual, Roberto, because the spirits are going to come and kill you because you're a Christian. And it's like, wow, this is pleasant. Maybe we should stop talking about this. And but no, kid wants to be suspicious. There's this crazy ritual going on, which whenever you see the people like partaking in the ritual, they're always smiling. It's beautiful costumes. It doesn't seem like an evil ritual. These Bazuna people are not portrayed like savage ritualists, like heathens. They're portrayed as having this wonderful cultural festival and having a lovely time. I find the church like far more suspect than I do these people like, dancing with their like wonderful like body makeup and headdresses and music and stuff. So there's nothing actually that bad going on in this festival. It just so happens that this festival represents a period of their history where spirits ran around killing like Christians.
And I think the church should worry a lot more because they are forgetting something, probably, that they are Christians too.
Well, as Roberto is recovering, he says he has a favour to ask, and it turns out he wants Julia to show him the library. And they get this beautiful library. And of course, this is like the holy grail to Roberto. He's so happy to see this. And he keeps mentioning over that knowledge is wealth. And it's like knowledge from God is wealth. Like it's a gift given to him. And you start seeing flashbacks of like this idea of like, knowledge is wealth, but if you get too obsessed with the pursuit of knowledge, it turns into a sin. And this definitely comes back to play as things play out in the next scene or two. So, Roberto goes a bit nuts for the library. He's very excited and he finds these books. And I do not know any of the historical accuracy, context, or what these books are, but we found something, the House of Bourbona, and they have the Ion book and the Dionia book, and they basically seem to be ancient French texts from his pronunciation and of the words. So they are around this family, and somehow this family managed to record experimentations and dark rituals that coincide with the creation of incorrupt corpses that don't decay, and also a way to bring these incorrupt and these non-decaying corpses back to life. And it's related to gold and the wealth, and he's getting a little bit into this. He's slowly, like, he's sweating, he's laughing, he's slowly taking off his clothes, because eventually he's just sitting in a shirt, and I'm like, oh, you've taken off your priestly robes and you're just sitting in your shirt. Oh my goodness. Quite a lot of flashes to Roberto's face, looking a little bit like overexcited. And he is devouring this, and his thirst for knowledge is getting more and more. And he's getting overexcited, and he's putting everything into these, taking of these books, analyzing them, and just like, oh my goodness. And this. And if you add like 3 drops of a peppercorn mixed with this and this, I've solved the mystery of bringing back the dead. And you're like, oh god, knowledge is power, but power corrupts absolutely. And Roberto's definitely being corrupted by the knowledge that's being presented in these books. And it's, yeah.
I think this scene in particular is an homage to one of the most well-known books of the Italian author Umberto Eco, The Name of the Rose, in which there is a beautiful church, an incredible library hidden because knowledge is power, but knowledge is also a mean to corrupt people, and a poisoned book, the rarest of them all, that the head librarian hides in the library, so that everyone who dares to touch the book that is forbidden will die of a terrible death. Because that book, In the Name of the Rose, was supposedly to be the second book of the Aristoteles Poetic, a book that was never found. Some says it was never written. Some says it was lost during the fire of the Library of Alexandria, but is one of the most forbidden book because it's about comedy. And we shouldn't forget that during the Middle Age, to laugh was almost forbidden, because laughing, the face takes more the feather of a monkey than of a man. So it's said that laughing would corrupt people, making them look like beasts. And there is a Latin motto that says "risus abundas in ore stultorum." That means the laughing is a lot more pronunciated on the mouth of stupid people. So I think this was an homage. The Bourbon family was one of the most powerful families in history. They take the French throne in 1589 with Henry III of Navarre, who becomes Henry IV the Great of France. Before that, they are said to be descendants of the Carolingian dynasty. The Carolingian dynasty was basically the dynasty that gave birth to the first kings of France. The way to control the corpse and the way to give them back life reminds me of a very well-known and misunderstood religion that comes from Africa, but also from the Caribbean, the Voodoo religion.
Ah, yes.
So I don't know if it's just me not knowing a single word of Japanese, so my ears kept hearing what I wanted to hear. But at some point, when there is the translation of Satan rituals or something like that, it sounds to me like they are saying Baron Samedi, Baron Samedi is one of the most powerful male figure in the voodoo religion. He is said to be able to bring back corpses to life and making them into zombies ready to obey his words. Those were people so drugged out of their minds with psychotic drugs that can actually work on a man's brain and make him look like a zombie and control them. So, in and some of those drugs have the same components of snake poison.
Ah, yes.
So that's why I think Roberto is being drugged,
Yeah.
and the people during the festivities are being drugged too. So there is one mind behind all of these, one mind that probably wants to find the so called gold of the Borbone, that is a legend. But at the same time, this person wants to get rid of at least Roberto because it's so easy. I mean, oh, Father Roberto, you are healed again. I'm so happy. Let me show you the beautiful library we
Mm.
have in this magnificent church. Oh dear, I didn't tell your friend that some of the books in the library are cursed. And it's said if you read the three of them, the devil will take your soul. And look, this morning I found out. Oh, the three books are missing. I hope that your friend Roberto didn't take them.
Yes. Julia, you're beautiful, but this time I don't think your beauty is trustworthy. And oh, Joseph, poor little Joseph, shows just he's a little bit innocent in this episode, a little bit too trusting, and he's definitely on the naive train. I mean, he goes from having a conversation with Lauren when Lauren's like, "Oh yes, I've sent you that thing," which eventually, when we do find out, we're like, "Okay, Joseph, I'm actually glad you were really paranoid and got that thing because it saved the day." But he talks to Lauren, and Lauren's like, "I've been doing some investigation on those samples you've like sent me, and there seems to be a weird virus in these people, and that John possibly didn't actually die of malaria because there was a corrosion in his liver that's only caused by this other virus that looks like malaria unless you investigate a bit further." So Joseph might be completely naive this episode, but at least he's doing his science. At least he's investigating this very well. He's just got himself very distracted by Julia. And he goes to hang out with Julia because he still wants to spend his spare time helping the people in the clinic because he just believes in Julia and Julia's mission to heal the sick and be just so beautiful and wonderful. And he's completely smitten. And even Roberto is just like, "Oh, you've become one of like his fans as well." And it's like, "Oh, this is what happens when you put a beautiful face of an angel on a devil." People are going to go, "Well, you're so beautiful and wonderful and kind. You could possibly not do a single thing wrong." But the next thing, obviously, Julia says is, "Oh no, the cursed books are missing. I've better tell you." He's like, "Why did you not rush straight to Roberto and go, 'Roberto, don't read them'? Why did you notice they were missing in the morning? Tell nobody until your jobs for the day were done." And then we're like, "Oh, by the way, Joseph, I'm a little bit worried about Roberto. Let's have a nice cup of tea and discuss how he's possibly got the like demon summoning books of cursedom."
Let's go and having a nice cup of tea in my room where there is a huge portrait of myself and it looks like a throne room belonging to the Vatican when my great 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 grand uncle was Pope. Do you know of him, right? Alexander the Sixth, the Pope Borgia? So please, please. And I noticed something in the opening credits
Ah, yes.
that are beautiful. But do you know the small frame in which there is Billy, the FBI agent? I will never remember his
Yeah,
surname.
yeah.
And,
I call him FBI Billy.
and there is this beautiful man with long white hair in civilian clothes. And I think that's Julia.
Ah.
So why is Julia wearing civilian clothes?
Mm. Ooh. Oh, I love it. So many layers upon layers of like, what is going on? But yes. So what this lovely conversation of like, oh no, your friend has taken the cursed books. Oh, by the way, I've got to go and leave this place for a bit. I mean, they've told me I shouldn't go out on the night of the Shin Shin, but the villagers, they need it. They need their sick being healed. So I'm not going to be around for the next 24 hours or so. He's like, oh, that's so convenient that you have left when all of this is, well, when you see what happens goes down, you're like, oh, so convenient you've left at this point, Julia, considering what happens to poor Roberto. So, oh dear. Poor Roberto is definitely going cuckoo cuckoo at this precise moment, and he is starting to like just be so like corrupted by the knowledge and yeah going. And Joseph turns up and he's like, "Oh, can I help you? Oh, maybe it's better if I just leave you alone." And I kind of feel a bit like, "Oh, Joseph, try harder, try harder. I know you're a soft little soul, and Roberto's just rejected you, but come on, you can do better than that. Come on, talk to him." So Joseph kind of was like, "Okay, I'll just go then." And then you hear the ah, and it turns out Roberto has been bit by a black mamba, and it's like, how the hell did a black mamba get into Roberto's room? I'm sorry, but you know, the most deadliest snake in Africa don't just find their way into, you know, rooms in.
unless unless someone put the black mamba into said room.
Yeah, exactly. Someone who
And
knew he should be dying in the next 24 hours.
so our safe bet is Kid,
Yeah.
because we don't like Kid. I also want to put my money on Julian being the one celebrating the ritual during the Shin Shin festival. Because really, it's so convenient
Yeah.
that you are traveling right now with one of John Jordan's prophecy ready to become true. So what, you leave and then you come back and your church was just the theater of the death of one of the people from the Vatican, and what, you come back and say, oh my god, oh,
Oh dear.
imagine the paperwork now.
Yeah. I was like, oh, I
So
better flagellate myself to show my guilt, because that's how I do things. Yes. Well,
I really don't trust Julia.
no, no, he's just too pretty and too nice. But
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
Poor Roberto. I'm saying that a lot, but he really is going through hell. Literally now going through hell, because he ends up in hell. So he's having a terrible nightmare. This bite to him has given him this nightmare and this vision and this hellscape, and he's turned up at the gates of hell. And a snake demon has said, like, our Lord Atlas wants to see you, and you are about to be judged by the demons of hell. And Roberto is just like, what? Wait, what? Because he's like, he did, you know, he's a priest and a really good man, and now he has been summoned to hell. So it's kind of like, obviously, Roberto currently is dying because the Joseph himself says, like, this poison will kill a man. So he is currently dying, and as he dies, his soul ends up at the gates of hell. Not to be like, not the gates of heaven, no, the gates of hell to judge him, which is why I think this is far more a weird drug-fueled trip than it is an actual, like, you know, there's no way Roberto would go be sent to hell to be, like, judged. But while he's in hell, the demons are like, right, welcome to your trial, Roberto, and we are going to test the weight of your faith. So this flame, in these, you get like the scales of judgment, this is the flame of your faith. And we're going to see what is more important to you, your faith or other things, in what ways more. And obviously he's tested against gold and jewels and pass. He's tested against, like, you know, women, sex, debauchery, passes, and they're like, oh, aren't you devout? You do not crave women and jewels and gold, and aren't you so good? But then the next thing that goes into a scale is books, rare books, mountains of books. And obviously this starts tilting the scales the opposite way, because Roberto's faith does not measure up to his knowledge, his desire for knowledge, his love of rare books. And the demons are like, haha, I see you covet books and knowledge. This is proof that your faith is not as strong as your desire for knowledge. And if you make if you make a contract with Lord Satan, he will make you the most intelligent, the most knowledgeable man in the entire world. And Roberto is like, I will never make a deal with the devil. And the devils are like, wait a minute, if all the books in the world can't tempt you, what could we possibly do to make you, like, question your faith and sell your soul to Satan? Oh no! Let's burn Joseph on the cross. Let's burn him alive, screaming in agony. It's like, oh, so your faith may just be able to bring you back from your love of knowledge, but will it bring you back from your love of this man? And it's like, oh, the Yaoi bells are chiming, going da 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 da. There is nothing in the world that Roberto would like desire more than his faith, apart from his love of Joseph. And he just believes that Joseph is such a good man. His faith is so beautiful and powerful that, like, his faith is in Joseph. So he has the utmost faith and love for Joseph, and the demons are like, well, we're going to burn him alive. And Roberto is like, no, you cannot. The world needs him. Take me instead. Burn me alive, torture me, do whatever you want. I give myself to you as long as this man is saved. And then you see everything kind of get obliterated, and Roberto's sitting there going, what happened? And it turns out he has passed his test by the demons. He has faced the demon inside him. And actually, his love of Roberto is what saved them, because God loves love. And he thinks, oh, you were so ready to throw yourself and sell your soul and destroy your life because of your faith and love of this man. And I kind of like that. I like the whole, like, yay, his love for another man is just as strong as, like, having faith in God. And, you need love to be a good Christian. You need love to be a good priest. And it kind of, like, renews him and shows that, like, Roberto is strong and he is full of faith. He has fought the demon inside him, his demon that is all about gaining knowledge. And he's come out of this. And it also turns out that back in the real world, Joseph has jumped into action. For a start, he fights the Black Mamba with a chair, and that's quite scary because it's a big ass snake. It's not a small little snake. The snake's massive and obviously insanely deadly, and he just kind of gets a chair and starts trying to chase it out the room, and he defeats the snake. And then he tears off the trousers of Roberto, ripping them at tasteful thigh shot. And I'm like, that is a tasteful thigh shot. You could have just cut a hole. Like, just cut a hole. No, you had to completely remove that trouser. You had to see all of Roberto's leg and his thigh. And you can see the snake bite. And then he persists to suck the poison out of the wound. And I'm like, yeah. You get up close and personal with that thigh, and that's when all my intelligence and all my, like, thinking brain left the building, and I was just left with Yaoi brain and just like, you suck that thigh. Go on. Yeah, you do that. And yeah, he manages to save Roberto's life because, well, he needed a bit of tasteful thigh in his life. It's very good. Poor Roberto. God, the amount of times I've said poor Roberto in this episode, there's going to be a tally. If you ever want to play a drinking games, it's how many times does Zoe say poor Roberto in this particular episode. He again wakes up in a hospital bed, like, hooked up to, like, the saline and the drugs, and finds out that, yes, Joseph was incredibly overprotective to the point where Lauren was annoyed with him. But it was a good reason to do that. And he's sitting next to Roberto and they're holding hands. I love the fact that Joseph is holding Roberto's hand on the bed. And it turns out that when they went the first time to the art room of John, he saw the picture of Roberto with the coils threatening to kill him. He says he looked very much like a snake. And since then, I was kind of a bit paranoid about you and snakes. So I thought, just in case snakes turn up, I'm going to make sure that an anti-serum to any snake poison and anti-venom is created. And I'm going to get Lauren, who's obviously clearly sciencey as well, to make this serum, send it to him, just in case. And thank goodness that he was the most overprotective boyfriend ever that saw a picture that looked a bit like a snake and went, well, a snake might turn up. So Lauren obviously makes the serum, and Joseph, like, administers it after the thigh sucking moment. And luckily, this anti-venom helps save Roberto's life. Thank goodness, because I'd be very sad. And yeah, I'd have to rage quit the series if anything happened to Roberto. You think it's all happy. You think it's all good. But no, Samson is missing. So one of the other priests who lives in the chapel is now missing. And they're like, oh goodness, we should go out and try and find him. And it's not a good night for, like, Christians to be out and about with the Shinshin festival in full swing. But they go anyway, and Joseph is the most overreactive, like, just overcaring, like, boyfriend. He's like, be careful of snakes. There might be snakes here. There's a snake. There's a picture of a snake. Be careful of a snake. And Roberto's like, how about you watch out for snakes too? You can tell, like, one of them is really naive and the other one's got a lot more common sense. And it's just like, it's all well and good. Thank you for worrying about me. I love you too. But you do realise that if a snake bites you, it's also going to be bad. Maybe stop. It's like, stop worrying about all the snakes eating me. And it's like, and they go into a room and there's like, there's a dead snake. No, Roberto, careful of the snake. And Roberto's like, calm down. It's a dead monkey. It's just like,
So much better.
yeah. It's just this overreaction to anything that's snake. They go to Samson home, who is allowed to live outside the chapel because he's looking after his ailing family. And Samson is missing, but there is this dead monkey, and there is a blood cross on the wall. And it's like, things are not looking good. This seems to be a bit weird. Like, dead monkeys are not normally the things that, like, turn up in people's houses. You know, even in Africa.
Not no, not to judge people, but I don't think so.
No. And then FBI Bill turns up and he's like, hey, I see you're investigating the disappearance of your friend. Well, have you looked in the cave? And they're like, what cave? Ah, come with us to the secret cave. Alas, there is Samson's dead body. And it's like, oh no. And he has had his throat slit. And apparently he was in a kneeling position in front of the altar. And it looks like there was no struggling. So whoever slit his throat was someone he knew and was happy to, like, have his back to him. And it's like, oh dear, poor Samson has been murdered in this shrine. And yeah, we don't know who the killer is now. I still go with Bill, not Bill. Kid. Kid seems a suspect at the moment. But
And Julia.
and Julia. Although Julia's away in another village at the moment, so has an alibi.
Well, that's what he said.
Yeah, true, actually.
We never saw him in the other village.
No.
So,
And then, obviously, after thinking that Roberto has faced his demons and the knowledge has not corrupted him and he's on the track to not being mental, he starts laughing uncontrollably and mentally. And Joseph is like, oh God, what's wrong with my boyfriend now? And Roberto's like, ha, that proves it. John was no saint. And you're like, how does it prove it? What is going on? What? No, you're just going to laugh maniacally into the credits. Great.
well, technically, he's still alive, for one. And in the Psalms, John Jordan said he was going to die during the Shinshin festival. And I think he probably solved the mystery around that, but he's so far gone, and I still put my money on drugs, that he forgot to tell us
Yes.
what the hell is going on. So
Instead, he's just, he's clearly not well with it. But he's put the pieces of the puzzle together, and even though, like, Joseph was saying that, Samson has died, so he fulfills the prophecy, but it's like, it's not perfectly fulfill the prophecies, but no, Roberto is mwahaha, no. Then our credits roll, and at least our sofa scene is a little bit back to, like, actual communication, and they're just trading some information. And Roberto explains that there is a term, Gurubanji, and Gurubanji is someone that has been corrupted by the intensity of their beliefs within the Bazuna faith. And yeah, there's something about this Gurubanji that is affecting what they are investigating. Dum dum dum.
and we know Samson was a son of two different cultures. He is part of the tribe, but he is also a Christian, and not just a common Christian, he's a priest. So, what did corrupt Samson and made him a good sacrifice? Or was he a good sacrifice because he was corrupted? Or was he the perfect victim because he wasn't corrupted enough? I think we are going to find out during the next episode, hopefully, because I'm a little bit tired of these cliffhangers.
Unfortunately, you're going to have to get used to them because this is a show of many cliffhangers and a very like, oh, sorry.
I don't like it. I don't like
At least they go in arcs though. So you get a couple of cliffhangers, then the arc ends, you breathe, and then it goes
Yeah,
again.
of course, of course. And then you forget how to breathe. So
Yeah.
you die waiting for the next cliffhangers or for the next episode. So yeah, thank you, Zoe. Thank you.
That's
I
okay.
know you love me.
Yeah. Anything else to add for this episode, Miss Gaia?
Not today.
No? Well, that's for now. It's us saying bye. Obviously, if you love anime, then check out my Newbie versus Weeaboo podcast. If you like yaoi, you have Lizzie Watches Yaoi. If you like horror, particularly that about demonic possession, mine and Gaia's Beneath Your Skin podcast. All of them can be found on Twitter and Tumblr and Facebook. And if you just want to say hi to me, just use the Let Zoe Spoil You and you can find most of my social media. But for now, bye.
Thank you for listening and bye bye.